What's up, everyone? Today we're going to take a look at how to transform just an elm trunk in under 2 years into this relatively complete looking crown. Just in case you're wondering, let's take a closer look at the two techniques that are sort of critical to this process that we're going through. So cutting back to 2 leaves involves taking a shoot like this, where we can see that there are a total, so this is a different shoot, that's the previous cut point. There's 1 leaf right here almost at the base, and then there's a second leaf, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So I'm going to cut back to that second leaf, leaving just the small leaf at the base and the new one. Then going through and cutting back all of the shoots to that size is the basis of the techniques that we've been taking a look at. In some cases I'll leave 3, in some cases I'll leave just 1 if I'm getting too close to the silhouette, but generally speaking the default is to come in and just cut those shoots back to 2 leaves. So ostensibly there are 2 leaves left on each shoot that I just cut back, and you can see here's the outer one on this, and here's the inner one. So I'm going to pull off the inner one, leaving just the outer one close to the tip. And I'm also pulling off extra leaves that may have been left over from last time, because what I'm trying to do essentially is just leave the 1 leaf that is at the tip of the new shoot. All right, and with that, you can see that this starts to resemble the condition of this tree over the past 2 years multiple times. So there's the cutting of the shoots and then the thinning of the leaves. Leaf thinning or foliage thinning is a key technique, particularly in deciduous and broadleaf evergreen bonsai. So what's happening here is that we are allowing a lot more light into the interior. Now, this is not a technique that I learned from a teacher. It's something that I arrived at after experimenting with complete defoliation. So if you completely defoliate a Chinese elm, they tend to jump back relatively quickly and leaf out. But if you have shoots that are reasonably young and green, like this one right here, those shoots sometimes die back rather than budding out. And so you end up with clusters of branches coming out in particular places and dead branches in others. So this technique of leaving the leaf at the tip of each shoot is meant to basically prevent those shoots from dying back while allowing the light to get into the interior of the tree, as well as stimulating the tree to make more growth because we've just removed a lot of leaves. Now you may have noticed that in the last round of work on this tree, I actually didn't pluck as many leaves. And you can see that in the week or so since I did that, there hasn't really been any reaction. And that's because this tree has enough leaves to kind of coast along through the rest of the summer and fall. So that stimulus of removing the leaves is really critical if you want to further the growth. However, the tree has to maintain, or has to be healthy, and has to be putting out growth on an ongoing basis in order for this technique to really work. If you have a sick tree or a tree that's growing really slowly, the cycles of work are going to be slower. In this case, I wanted to give the tree a little bit of a break after 3 rounds of partial defoliation, as well as I think 4 rounds of cutback. I also want this branch to get a little bit bigger and stronger, so I've left all of the leaves on it and just added some wire. The combination of these techniques is what really gets us to a really nice detailed little canopy. If I lived in a hotter area, I would be able to do this even more quickly, and I would probably get even more budding than I'm getting on this tree. Now I can already hear you asking, what other trees can I apply this technique to? I have tried this with Zelkova and it works reasonably well, not as well as on Chinese elm. If you think about trees that are normally defoliated, trident maple being one of the primary examples, then you probably can apply this technique. I've also tried it on a couple of broadleaf evergreen trees, Yaupon holly being the primary one that has shown some pretty good results. And here's what applying that technique to a Chinese hackberry looks like. Essentially, hackberries are similar to elms in that they have an alternating leaf pattern and they are fast growing, vigorous trees. So applying this technique makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't apply this technique to Japanese maples unless they are absolutely going crazy on you, in which case it might work. Generally speaking, deciduous trees that have that alternating leaf pattern rather than pairs of leaves, and the same thing for broadleaf evergreen like Yaupon holly, are probably well suited to this technique. That wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.